We're the middle children of history, man. No purpose, no place. We have no Great War, no Great Depression. Our Great War is a spiritual war. Our Great Depression is our lives. We've all been raised by television to believe that one day we'll be millionaires and movie gods and rock stars, but we won't, and we're slowly learning that fact, and we're very, very pissed off. Tyler Durden, Fight Club. Okay, welcome back, guys. In this video, we got the energy up, number one. Number two, we're not going to give you all the information. Probably don't care. What we're going to give you is exactly what you need to know to implement in your life and get after it. So here we go. Today, we got Alexander the Great, born 356 BCE to King Philip the Great. King Philip was a king of a small Macedonian kingdom and a few surrounding territories. At the age of 13, he was tutored by Aristotle. Aristotle was one of the leading thinkers of this time. And a few of the subjects that he tutored him in was medicine, science, philosophy, and literature. This was vitally important. So you didn't just have a brute king who was not intellectual, and you didn't have a king that was a genius and a scholar and a philosopher, but was weak amongst men. At 16 years old, he had his first military experience, right? And this was basically getting his feet wet. His father had went out on a conquest. He left him behind to govern his kingdom, and there was a rebellion. So he had to lead the troops to squash the rebellion, in which he did. When he was 20 years old, his father was assassinated. Obviously, being the son of the king, you're the next in lineage to the throne. He was thrust into being a king at 20 years old. So as king, one of the reasons that we call him the Great is he conquered the entire Persian Empire, which was vast at the time, parts of 3 continents, Europe, Africa, and Asia, and the earth is made up about 70% water. Well, the percent that's left, 5% of it was his, a pretty substantial amount for one man. And he dies at 32. So he had 12 years as king, and he was able to accomplish all this. Now we're gonna get into why we're actually learning this and what we can take from it. So let's come back over here. The key takeaway from this is one, he had mentors. His father to show him how to lead men, lead a kingdom, lead himself as a king. As I said, a lot of people come into power that they didn't earn and completely squander it. They not only destroy themselves, they destroy the people under them. And he had Aristotle, as I said, one of the top thinkers at the time, who was able to teach him how to think, not only inside the box, but outside the box. Concepts that weren't commonly even thought of at the time. A lot of people are in survival mode. They were thinking philosophy, literature from all over the world, very well versed, very well rounded. Okay, number 2, first military experience at 16 years old. So what we can take from that is you need to start early. 16 years old, fighting against grown men. In this day and age, there's tons of things you can't do at 16, especially not fighting a war against grown men. But I like to point out that most of the people that are actually masters of their craft started in childhood. Mike Tyson, LeBron, Michael Jordan, Tiger Woods, Michael Jackson, Floyd Mayweather, Gervonta Davis. And those are just athletes and entertainers. But obviously, if you're a great thinker or a builder, all that stuff you're thinking early in childhood. So that goes without saying. So in order to master your craft, you need 10,000 hours, they say. So the earlier you start, 16 years old, the better you are at the craft. Obviously, 16 years old, he's starting to discover military strategies. He's starting to get over the fear of actually fighting in a battle. He's starting to see how to be able to lead other men, especially everybody's older than him, right? So by the time he becomes king at 20, he has 4 years of experience, not only leading men, showing his courage, showing his competence in battle. Now his transition to kingship is a lot easier because he's respected, he knows what he's doing, and he knows what he has to do in order to accomplish his goals. Father dies at 20, he becomes king. So what we can take from that is real world experience is vital. Obviously, since 13, and even before that, he's been being mentored. And when he's mentored by Aristotle, they're reading books and they're having philosophical discussions and they're contemplating life basically. And when he's being led by his father, he has responsibilities, but ultimately his father is the one that's in charge and that everything falls onto. Now when he becomes king at 20 years old, everything's in his hands. Win or loss is based on his actions. So it's easy to shoot free throws when you're in an empty gym, right? A punching bag does not punch back. Taking a practice exam is obviously a lot less stressful than taking an actual timed exam. What I'm saying is the faster you get real world experience, whether good or bad, he didn't win every battle, right? But every experience is a notch under your belt. One, to get you to that 10,000 hours, but two, to figure out what works and what doesn't work so you can tweak your plan and jump back into the fight. 4, consider your legacy. Obviously, he had a vast resume of what he was able to accomplish in only 12 years. 5% of the known landmass is a ridiculous empire. Not only that, he had tons of cities named after him. The greatest library in the world was in Alexandria in Egypt. He created in Asia and all the places he went, he became a mythical figure. One of the reasons I believe he was able to do that is because the person that he tried to emulate, that he tried to set his standard behind, was Achilles, who obviously wasn't a real person. He was a mythical figure. And it was said Achilles was dipped in a golden pond as a child by the gods, being held by his ankle. And when he came out, his body was armor. He became the greatest warrior in the history of the world and was only killed once he was shot in the Achilles by an arrow, because that's the only part that wasn't submerged, right? So he's basing his success on what a mythical figure did. So if you set your standard that high, even falling short, which he did, he wasn't Achilles, but falling short of a ridiculous standard, you're still gonna accomplish a lot more than if you just wanted, I'll just take over kingship and try to maintain what I have. And lastly, how did he die? Some say it was poisoning, some say it was an assassination, some say it was stress from all the military campaigns. We don't know, and that's the point. You don't know when you're gonna die, right? He died at 32. They say the average lifespan right now is about 75 for males. So, but I think that might be keeping us stagnant, right? Because if you're 25 and in your head you have about 50 years left, there's no real urgency because you can get it done next year. You can get it done next month. I'm gonna do it when I'm in my 30s, right? So 75 is a long lifespan for somebody, but you have to ask yourself, would you rather die at 32 with an entire legacy, having lived an immaculate life, or live to 75 being the most mediocre version of yourself? Jim Rohn once said, if you want safety and security, they'll give you that. They'll take you in an insane asylum, put you in a room that's padded where nobody can hurt you and nobody can get you. But what kind of life is that to have? It's also said some high-ranking Freemasons keep a skull on their desk to remind them that they're not immortal and they're gonna die eventually. So why not do what needs to be done and keep everything in perspective? And this is seen in a lot of cultures. Stoics have a saying, memento mori, which means remember you'll die. So always keep that in the back of your mind. You're gonna die one day. Is scrolling on Instagram important? Is binge watching TV and binge eating food important? Or do you need to buckle down and create the legacy before your time's over? And guess what? If you do live to 75, 80, 90, that's great. But you can do both. So why not have your cake and eat it too? Have a great legacy, live a long life. But if you had to pick one, which one are you gonna pick?